It's a brand new school year and a brand new semester of Red Wolf Roundtable. After 3 long months, we are finally back. I'm Wesley Gwaltney with you once again. Got Denton Postlewait with me and Alex Galbriath. 2 new hosts. We haven't seen them in a while here at Red Wolf Roundtable, so we're going to try a whole new different thing this year with Red Wolf Roundtable. We're going to talk NFL and MLB, but now we're even more jam-packed with A-State sports than we were before. And to kick it off, man, we got to talk about a couple teams that have been doing pretty well here at Arkansas State. Women's golf.
Yeah, the A-State Lady Red Wolves golf team made the long trek to Mobile, Alabama for the USA Intercollegiate and came home with a very respectable 12th place finish out of 17 teams. A-State finished the 3-day event with a combined 895, its lowest 3-round score since the 2015-2016 season. Leading the way for the Lady Red Wolves was Grayson Gladden, who posted her 6th all-time top 20 with a career-best 216, ending tied for 16th. Olivia Schmidt came home tied for 48th, and Beth Ann Compton and Marisa Marquez came home tied for 60th.
Keeping it going in golf, A-State's men's golf team captured a victory this past weekend at the Golf Week Conference Challenge. The Red Wolf picked up the win after round 3 was canceled due to heavy rainfall at the Cedar Rapids Country Club. Sitting at a 23 under par, 553 after 2 rounds, and the Red Wolves finished with a 12-stroke victory over host University of Iowa and took down several schools that finished in last year's top 100, including preseason number 21, UCLA. Leading the Red Wolves was junior Julian Sow, who topped the event with a 136 over the 2 days. Following Sow was Joe Wedden, who tied for a second with a 139. Other Red Wolves included Luca Naglich, who tied for 5th with a 140, and Zan Luca Stern, tied for 13th with a 142. Rounding out the Red Wolves, Jacob Barnes tied for 56 with a 150 over the 2 days.
So great job by the golf teams there. The women's golf team struggled a little bit, 12th out of 17 teams, which was pretty good. And then the men's golf team picked up the win, though. Really good to see that, because last year we talked a lot about the women's golf team and not as much about the men. The men were kind of building a program, and a great way to start the season already, beating a preseason number 21.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Roles have kind of been reversed this season, so it's great to see for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to what's coming up in the men's golf season. But a sport we always talk about here on Red Wolf Roundtable, women's volleyball. The Red Wolves lady volleyball team started out this season in a slump with a 2-5 record. However, the girls have rebounded and are now on a 6-game winning streak after going 3-0 in this weekend's A-State Invitational. The Lady Red Wolves started the tournament with a dominant 3-1 victory over Arkansas rival UCA. Carlisa May dominated the Sugar Bears, connecting on 24 kills and a .300 attacking percentage. Friday night saw a thriller of a match as the Red Wolves took down SIU, dominating the 5th set 15-4. Carlisa May once again stole the show, adding in another 24 kills and 10 digs for her 5th double-double of the year. Saturday night in the finale, the Lady Red Wolves took the lead early and never looked back as they swept Jackson State in 3 straight sets. A younger squad took the court to garner the victory in the finale and showed a lot of promise for the rest of the year. Carlisa May was named the tournament MVP with her 48 kills and 20 digs. A-State will now kick off their conference play September 21st at First National Bank Arena versus Troy. So let's talk about this volleyball team. This is a group that made it into the finals of the Sun Belt Conference Tournament last year. They're always a perennial favorite to be there at the end whenever it comes to Sun Belt Conference Tournament. Now, you got to deal with teams like Texas State and Coastal Carolina, who was last year's Sun Belt Conference champion, but we haven't been in the tournament in 3 years, and it's Carlisa May's senior year, so you know she wants to get there.
She's a great player. She's an absolute dominant force as far as an outside hitter. She gets up really well on the block as well. I think what's going to be important for this team is to get, like you said, the youth came in and kind of finished that victory out. What's really important is to get that second, third rotation of people that can come in when, because Carlisa's not going to have 24 kills every night. And teams are going to start game planning for her, throwing a double block to her side. So they're really going to have to, have some other hitters in the middle or the opposite side to come in and step up.
Coach David Rear has done a great job with this team. We've kind of seen them over the past few years. We've seen a lot of change happening. Last year, they battled Texas State in an absolutely amazing matchup in the Sun Belt Conference Tournament. And they struggled this season to start the year, but that was kind of part of the being younger. And Carlisa May, so with the whole they're sending in double blocks her way, she's still doing that even with 20. Like, they're sending double blocks and she's still getting 24 kills, which is insane. But Coach Rear has done an amazing job at masking kind of what he's doing with the attack. He's got a couple different setters in, and Carlisa has done an amazing job at working over the offseason at positioning her shots just a little bit better and trying to find the open gap.
Yeah, absolutely. You kind of made a good point there. David Rear and Carlisa May, they're making up this team right now, but what you guys were saying, talking about the youth movement, We want the Lady Red Wolves to do extremely well this year, and I've got to give them a lot of credit after, what was it, a 2-5 start, I believe, winning 6 straight. They're obviously peaking at the right time, entering conference play this Friday, so obviously that's huge. And obviously, like you said, the youth movement that's coming up here obviously sets the stage for the future of the Lady Red Wolves volleyball team, and obviously, hopefully they can take a little pressure off our Kalisa May and kind of, once again, kind of work as that team and make a run in the Sun Belt tournament.
I'm looking forward to really what's going to happen this weekend. They start conference play September 21st against Troy, so that's this coming weekend. And Sun Belt play is a whole different story than playing teams like, nothing against SIU and UCA and Jackson State, but only of those 3 schools, SIU is an FCS team. Everybody else is FBS. SIU took Arkansas State to 5 sets, and now that's a worrisome thing. Now, A-State did dominate in the 5th and final set, 15-4, so they ran away with it. But it worries me that they struggled against a team like SIU when you got to play teams like Coastal Carolina and Texas State, and even like Louisiana Monroe and Louisiana Lafayette. They have great teams. Louisiana Lafayette has some amazing blockers on their side. They're just really tall. I think one of them 6'4" or something of that nature, and it's absolutely insane what they're able to do. Now, they're not great at attacking, but Arkansas State is, so it's going to be strength versus strength later on in the season.
Yeah, and a way you can make up for that, too, is, if they're throwing the double block, one thing that Arkansas State did really well last year, I think in the Sun Belt Conference play, I know that for the regular season, was employing the tip. So, you go up, you have Carlisa hammering a couple home, she goes up and they throw a double block, and she puts, she puts a tip, or the setter puts a nice little soft touch where it's not, or where the defense is supposed to be. So it'll be interesting to see what Coach Rear does. But like I said, we open up with Troy this weekend. I think as long as they can get things going with the young core group, get them some playing time, settle their nerves, I think that we'll be okay.
Now, should we worry that they struggled against a team like SIU compared to a Sun Belt? Sun Belt Conference is really, really good come volleyball year. Now, we saw that when Coastal Carolina went to the NCAA tournament last year, and they put up an amazing fight in round 1 versus a Power 5 school. And Arkansas State, when we went to the tournament, we played Michigan State, and we put up a great fight with that, but Michigan State came out on top. We're one of the better conferences of the group of 5. And so I can't wait to see what this team does when it comes conference play. Now, their early losses scare me. Going 2-5 to start the year, yes, they're on the right track, winning 6 in a row, and sweeping the A-State Invitational. But Troy is going to be one of those teams that's going to definitely test you. And I can't wait to see what happens next. But that's going to do it for this segment. We'll be back after the break to talk a bit of A-State football here on Red Wolf Roundtable.
Leaving hot coals improperly extinguished can cause a wildfire.
Hey guys, it's Smokey!
It looks as if Smokey is going to use the drown, stir, drown, and feel technique. After the first drown, a good stir. Next, another drink. And finally, a close feel.
Is it cool? Okay. Yeah.
Hey, Smokey, catch! Oh, my bad, Smokey.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
They call me Prince like I'm royalty or something. But the places I've lived ain't no palaces. So I don't need grilled salmon or a new scratching post. Just give me a cardboard box and a can of tuna and we're good. You can even change my name. I'm cool being the kitty formerly known as Prince.
See on page 4 that the projections need to be blood. Next Thursday?
Seriously? Thursday? Can't do that.
This is really inconvenient.
I have yoga that day. I have no time for this. So.
I can't do Thursday, but I can do Friday.
Disasters don't plan ahead. You can. Talk to your loved ones about how you're going to be ready in an emergency. Don't wait. Communicate.
Most party fouls are pretty dumb. But if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Underage drinking and driving. The ultimate party foul.
Welcome back to Red Wolf Roundtable. Denton Postlewait and I almost forgot your name. I'm so used to just jumping right into this. I almost forgot. I'm so sorry.
Hey, no worries. Alex Galbriath.
Alex Galbriath. We have had a crazy day getting this show ready to go. I'm so sorry about that. But we got to move on to a sport that, personally, one of my favorites, and it's the biggest thing around on campus most of the time. The Arkansas State Red Wolves put another mark in the win column Saturday at Tulsa, taking down the Golden Hurricane 29-20. Now, the Red Wolves were led by the defense for the first time this year as they created 17 points off of Tulsa's turnovers. Justice Hansen kind of led the rushing charge. Normally we see him throwing the ball, had 80 rushing yards on 14 attempts to lead the rushing statistics. Hansen was 20 of 33 with 199 yards. Now, A-State played well. I'm not going to take anything away from that, but that's our first road win in a long time. And we just come off a, how do I put it nicely, shellacking. Shellacking from Alabama just 2 weeks ago now. But it does make you feel better whenever Alabama beats Ole Miss 62-7.
Yeah. I mean, statistically, we did kind of put up a better fight against Alabama, but we're moving on. Every day's a new day. I think, it was kind of surprising to see the defense stepped up and led, especially with as explosive offense as we have. For whatever reason, the rushing game just couldn't get going. And not taking anything away from Tulsa. Tulsa's a great team, but I think that our defense. I think our defense is really dialed in. You're not necessarily going to notice it from 2 weeks ago, but I think going forward, that we're built really. Losing a couple guys to the league, I think we're just reloading. Coach Anderson's done a great job with that. I'm excited to see the offense get back going this weekend, though.
Yeah, Justin Clifton did an amazing job over the weekend on the defensive side of the ball. He's one of those guys that was looking for Sunbelt Conference Defensive Player of the Year. He was in the running for that preseason-wise. He made the first team Sunbelt Conference preseason defense. And we also had Justice Hansen, who was the Sunbelt Conference Offensive Player of the Year in the preseason. He has not exactly played like that. Now, he struggled against Alabama, but we'll give him a little pass there because it is Alabama. You can ask any other SEC school or any school that's played Alabama this year about how that goes. Sorry, Louisville. But Arkansas State's offense has not been great. Warren won. Yes, we rushed for over 100 yards against Alabama, but we did most of that damage against, second and third stringers. The first-team defense, we didn't have anything for them. And that Justice Hansen had to lead the charge on rushing bothers me a little bit because that makes him a little more injury-prone because he's got to take a lot more shots when he's running the ball.
No, you're exactly right. And Justice Hansen, great job against Tulsa. I think he had an 18-yard touchdown run. But you are correct that he is making himself, more prone to injuries potentially by putting himself out there, by escaping the pocket. He's a very mobile quarterback. I think he's probably the best quarterback in the Sun Belt Conference. But this game coming up against UNLV, I think is going to be a really good test for our offense, just to kind of see going up against a Mountain West opponent who has played well this past couple of weeks. I think really had a respectable showing against USC in the season opener. So I'm very curious to see how that goes. Justice Hansen, quarterbacks, are prone to having games back and forth where they struggle, have a couple turnovers, have a couple interceptions, something like that. So I'm curious to see how he bounces back. He didn't, like you said, didn't have a bad game against Tulsa, but did most of his damage on the ground. He's got to get better, at least as the season continues, making some more damage through the air.
What worries me is we have the best receiving corps, maybe in the group of 5 schools. And now Tulsa was another one of those group of 5s. Now, I'll bring up an interesting note with Tulsa. So we played Tulsa, last year we played Coastal Carolina, and then on homecoming, Arkansas almost lost to Coastal Carolina. Guess who they play on their homecoming this year? They play Tulsa. So we can kind of use that as a measuring tool. It's going to be at different parts of the season. But we have the best receiving corps in the Sun Belt Conference, without a doubt. And then on top of that, maybe group of 5, and it doesn't seem like he's really utilizing them as much. He's trying to get the ball to Justin McInnes, but he's just not putting it in great spots where only his receiver can get to it and the defense can't. Now, is he throwing as many interceptions? No. But has he had a 4-touchdown game besides the very first game of the year versus Southeast Missouri State when he, 6 touchdowns, which is insane? He hasn't thrown a touchdown since.
Well, and it does kind of, I guess I'll give him a little bit of a pass. It does hurt him that, we did lose Dahu Green, who he transferred from Oklahoma, I believe, right? And so, going forward, preseason, coaches were really high on Green. I think that they just tried to use, they tried to use him too much in different areas. The kid's so athletic that it's hard for you not to get excited about a player like that. But I think Justice he's looking to hit the home run every time, and I think maybe if that all of it comes down to play calling. Obviously if you think that your man is better than the man across from you, you're going to try to go get those points. I think we need to settle down a bit. You know, we're getting ready to enter Sun Belt play here in a couple weeks. I think we need to get the offense back to where, not necessarily was as prolific as last year, but I think we need to definitely get going because you know there's some big Sun Belt defenses looming.
Yeah, App State in just 2 weeks. I mean, we have we're going to open Sun Belt play in 2 weeks now from Georgia Southern. Then you get a week off, and then on a Tuesday night, what we could see in the Sun Belt Conference Championship game as well, Arkansas State plays App State, and that's going to be the game to watch. I mean, already booked for I believe ESPN2. On a Tuesday night, it's going to be crazy in Centennial Bank Stadium. But Arkansas State can't look past this UNLV team. UNLV, they allowed quite a bit of points to USC. I believe it was 36.
Somewhere around there.
And UNLV is one of those teams as well that they're just going to take shot after shot down the field offensively. They're not really worried about defense as much. They were actually picked. They finished 7th in the Mountain West Conference, which is borderline, a bowl team. And the UNLV Rebels have been getting much, much better over the past few years. So that's definitely going to be an interesting matchup. And now when we were talking about the Sun Belt teams, of course, App State almost took down Penn State. We saw that happen. So kind of talk about the power of that. Troy and Nebraska. What a game that was. It was insane to see. The Sun Belt kind of staking their claim as, hey, y'all might not think we're very, very strong, but we got some teams that can knock down some Power 5 schools.
Well, Troy's one of those teams that we saw it last year in the preview of, the last home game. On one of the final drives, Troy ended up taking us down. That offense for Troy is no joke. They're not a slouch. Justice Hansen is probably leading that group of quarterbacks, like you said in the conference. But right behind him are I forget the guy's name, but the Troy quarterback and the App State quarterback as well. I mean, the App State quarterback was slinging it against Penn State.
Yeah, he was, and he's a dual threat kind of guy. He can run the ball a little bit. Now, Hansen can too, but Hansen doesn't have those kind of numbers. He doesn't have that kind of ability. That guy, I believe they said he runs about a 4.5, 4.6, 40, which is insane for a quarterback. And Hansen might be 4.9, 4.8. No disrespect to Justice Hansen on that. He's just, that's not his versatility, and he can sling the ball with the best of them. Justice Hansen may be one of the best pocket passers going into the NFL draft coming up here in this next year. And I think he's kind of undervalued in that nature. But this game this weekend, what do we got to see from Arkansas State, really?
What you have to see, and we talked about it against the game at Tulsa, the defense played extremely well against Tulsa, and you've got to see that out of them again against UNLV, because UNLV is led by Armani Rogers, their quarterback, extremely solid dual-threat quarterback, similar, in my opinion, to Justice Hansen. I think these two quarterbacks are very similar. I would give the edge to Hansen in this game if you were just comparing the two, but Armani Rogers is something or a player that you just can't afford to overlook. And with his ability to make some big plays on the ground as a dual-threat quarterback, can our defense hone in on that and really stop that dual-threat passing attack from Rogers? Now, like you said, they let up a lot of points to USC in the season opener. That's to be understandable. I mean, USC was a nationally ranked team at the time, but they've put up some big numbers in their past 2 games, of course, over cupcake opponents, but still. So I think, once again, the defense has to be the key in this one. I think, the Mountain West gets a bad rap for the lack of defense that they have. And I think that you could see that again out of UNLV. Like you said, they don't care much about defense. They care a lot about putting up points. So we might be able to see a huge shootout this Saturday against the Rebels, but I think A-State's going to pull out the win if they can just hone in on the defensive side of the ball.
I completely agree. I think we're going to see a shootout. I'm seeing somewhere around 70 to 80 points between the two teams. And, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. It's going to be a lot of craziness. But that's going to do it for this segment. We're going to come back after the break, talk a little bit of college football, what's going on nationally, and then the NFL as well, as we're entering in NFL week number 3 here on Red Wolf Roundtable.
Open road, here comes the Heffley family.
Whether it's a short trip or a long haul.
Estimated time, 47 hours.
They will beg.
You're hungry? I'm happy to provide.
They will plead.
Deep fried butter on a stick.
But whatever you do, don't wimp out.
Now you're talking.
Make them buckle up.
He can't hurt.
Remember, safety first. Cheese curls second.
Are you orange?
never forget the day our landlord called and said, read your lease. No pets allowed. My owner tells him my dog ate the lease, but that didn't work. And now I'm stuck in a shelter. But this pit bull is ready for a new crib. I'm loving, loyal, and play well with others. So don't be intimidated by all my muscles, because the biggest one I have is my heart. That's right, I said it.
Everybody has a dream. Mine was to see the ocean. And with a little help, I made it.
Welcome back to Red Wolf Roundtable. I'm Wes Gwaltney. Got Denton Postlewait with me, and I'm not forgetting your name this time, Alex Galbriath, as well, the freshman. It's a whole new year, and I love it. I love being back here in Red Wolf Roundtable, and it's a whole new year of college football. We talked about Arkansas State. Now let's jump outside of the Sunbelt Conference, or we can go back to Sunbelt if y'all would like. Some of the big games coming up this week, and some of the surprises. We were talking a little bit during the break about UCF, the defending national champion, who last time they were taken down was by Arkansas State, just for note. Now, we did lose to the other national champion, Alabama, last year. They just won the playoff. They got to play Florida Atlantic. Florida Atlantic hasn't played great this year, but it's Lane Kiffin. So you got to talk about the matchup when he's playing the national champions.
Absolutely. You know, Lane Kiffin, he gets a bad rap for the stuff that he did over at USC, stuff that he did at Tennessee. But he's a heck of a football coach, and he's really transformed this Florida Atlantic team, kind of built them up to one of the powers, I think, in the Conference USA. I think they're going to be, I think last year they faced off against, I believe it was North Texas in the Conference USA championship game, and North Texas, we know, went and defeated Arkansas.
Not even just went and defeated.
They annihilated Arkansas. But yes, this is going to be a very intriguing matchup, and like we talked about with the A-State UNLV game, I could see this game being a huge shootout because you take Central Florida with a new head coach in Josh Heupel, who was the offensive coordinator over at Missouri and did great things with Drew Lock in that offense. He's got another solid quarterback, same quarterback from last year, Mackenzie Milton. Some consider a potential Heisman dark horse. I don't see that happening yet, but he's still one of the better passers, I think, in the entire nation. And then Florida Atlantic having Devin Singletary. So you see the difference between these two offenses. Florida Atlantic relying more on the run, while Central Florida relying more on the home run and the pass plays. So I think this is going to be a huge shootout. The game's being played at Central Florida, so I'm going to give the Knights the win there. But I think it's going to be a really fun one, and one that I think is extremely underrated. Not a lot of people are paying attention to it.
It is on a Friday night, so it's a Friday night ball game for the American Conference. One of the conference games after non-conference season is kind of over. I believe FAU has one more non-conference matchup. Let's talk about FAU, though. They've struggled to start the year. They got destroyed themselves by Oklahoma, a score of 63-14. I had to go back and look at that just to make sure I was reading it right. 63-14 Oklahoma. So is Oklahoma that good? Or is FAU just not as good as they were last year? Last year they had 9 wins.
Now through the first couple weeks of college football, Kyler Murray has actually put up better numbers than Baker Mayfield did in his senior season. A lot of people are, you said Mackenzie Milton's a dark horse. I think Kyler Murray has got to be right in that conversation. Not a big guy, but man, that offense can light up the scoreboard. And I think the big thing is, I think Oklahoma is that good. Now, being in the Big 12, not a lot of defense playing the Big 12, so we'll see that come conference time. But I think that Lane Kiffin is. I don't know if this is the year that they're really going to take that stage to jump up to a power. I think give Lane Kiffin a couple years. He's a great offensive mind. Give him a couple years to get his guys in there. And I think if we have this conversation next season or the season after that, I think it's completely different.
Is he even the best quarterback in the Big 12, though? Let's be honest about that, because Will Grier at West Virginia, I love West Virginia football without a doubt because, 1, the air raid offense in football, 2, press defense in basketball. What's not to love about the Mountaineers except, well, the fact they don't play defense either? It's part of being in the Big 12. I don't even know if you can say Oklahoma's the best team in the Big 12 in that matter. I think Texas is actually scary good after their Week 1 loss to Maryland. That just kind of comes with the territory of ranking Texas in the top 25 to start the year, apparently. Because every time you start them, if they're not 1 or 2, then it's a bad year for Texas to start. And on top of that, the Big Ten hasn't played well. Ohio State, yes, they're without Urban Meyer for 4 games, but it's not really big matchups for them right now. They don't have to play. They don't have to worry about playing like a Penn State or a Michigan without Urban Meyer.
Now, on the flip side of that, though, they did take care of business against TCU. And Urban back this week. I think they play Tulane this week.
Yeah,
it's not really a big deal. Going back to your point about Will Greer is great. Kyler Murray is great. Drew Lock at Missouri is a guy that doesn't get a lot of talk, but I've read some things and heard some things that Drew Lock is actually a star among some of the NFL front offices just for the way he can control an offense and and he can make a lot of throws that guys at this level just can't.
The guy stays poised. I'll give him that. A couple years ago, when he struggled against Arkansas in the battle line rivalry, he got a little shooken up. He threw an interception, and he was visibly frustrated. And he's kind of gathered himself a lot better this year. And so Missouri isn't really too much of a competitor this year in the SEC because he doesn't have a whole lot of weapons around him, and the defense has struggled as well. Just kind of also part of being in the SEC East. The SEC East has been rough this year. But college football has been really good so far. We haven't seen any crazy upsets just yet, and they could come. I mean, Troy over Nebraska, you could say a group of 5 versus a Power 5 school, but Nebraska's in a rebuilding stage, brand new coach.
Yeah, Scott Frost hadn't gotten his guy. It's the same way with Lane Kiffin. Scott Frost doesn't have his guys yet. Give him a couple years. You saw what he did at UCF. I think he'll be just fine.
Yeah, you touched on just new head coaches, period, the difficulty they've been having. You took at Scott Frost in Nebraska. Willie Taggart at Florida State has been atrocious, getting blown out to Virginia Tech, and blown out by Syracuse, and nearly losing to Samford. The score, they won by 10 points, which doesn't look bad until you realize that Samford was driving with about 3 minutes left, and they threw a pick 6. So you look at them, Arkansas and Chad Morris struggling very heavily there. So there's a lot of new head coaches out there that, everybody wants this instant gratification. They want to immediately start contending for a championship, immediately start contending against their rivals. But you got to give these coaches, all of them, time to get their players in and set up their schemes and then try to start competing after about 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, Chad Morris is dealing with the Brett Bielema system. Now, we've only got a few minutes left here of the show, so we got to jump into it's our fans' most favorite segment. It's kind of personally one of mine as well, hot takes. And so since you're new, we're going to let you start it off. What's your first hot take as a co-host here on Red Wolf Roundtable?
Well, if we're going to do some hot takes, I'm going to switch it over to the NFL real quick. And my hot take is that Jameis Winston does not start for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when his suspension is over. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick maintains that job with the Buccaneers. He's leading passer in the NFL right now. They've started off 2-0. This is the best Buccaneers team, the best way I've seen them play, probably in the past 5 years or so. I think they were the legitimate playoff contender and probably, in my opinion, the favorite in the NFC South.
See, Conor McGregor Jr., Ryan Fitzpatrick, if y'all saw his post-game press conference, he looks like Conor McGregor. It's disturbing yet funny at the exact same time. He's done an amazing job, but I cannot see them giving up on Jameis Winston, who was their guy. It's like the Titans with Marcus Mariota, their guy. And I don't see the Buccaneers holding. They've started well, but the defense has actually struggled. I mean, look at what the Saints were able to do against them, just pounding the ball against them. So that's one. I respect that, though. I respect the Buccaneers. Ryan Fitzpatrick, he has a chance. What do you got, Denton?
My hot take is that after next season, the Colts will look to deal Andrew Luck. I'm a Colts fan. I'm a Colts guy. You kind of said with Marcus Mariota, their guy, Jameis Winston, their guy in Tampa Bay. Look, the Andrew Luck experiment worked well up until 2016. But if you actually look at statistics, Andrew Luck he's a turnover-prone quarterback. He makes a lot of plays downfield. He also turns the ball over a lot. So I think that the Colts are going to try to move on here in a couple years. They're going to give him this year, maybe try to get trade value for him. But I don't think that he will be a Indianapolis Colt for forever.
I think Jacoby Brissett takes over soon. To be honest, Luck will struggle. Now we'll move on to mine. Since that was y'all's first time with hot takes, I'll let y'all slide a little bit. Those weren't really hot takes. Mine. I thought about this a little bit. Drew Brees getting kind of old. He's 38 years old. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I think he'll go down with an injury at some point this year. I hate to say that. Please don't. Drew Brees, if you hear this, I'm sorry. But I think Teddy Bridgewater leads the New Orleans Saints to the NFC Championship. And that's just because of the offensive pieces they have in Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara, of course. And
Mark Ingram coming back.
Mark Ingram will be back in a couple weeks, so they'll actually be able to run the ball without Kamara having to catch 10 passes a game. And their defense is not good so far. I mean, they really got tore up by the Buccaneers, and then they struggled against the Browns as well. A Browns team is actually much better this year. I think Teddy Bridgewater leads the New Orleans Saints to the NFC Championship, but that's going to do it for the first Red Wolf Roundtable of 2018. We hope you enjoyed. We'll be back next week. I won't be here, but they will. And we'll see you next week here on ASU-TV Red Wolf Roundtable.